Hey guys, welcome back to another 3D printing video. So we have a really special video today because this box that you see here is actually containing a resin printer made by a company called Phrozen. So I'm very excited for this printer and I can't wait to check it out. So in this video, we're gonna unbox it, set it up, and do some prints. All right, let's get started. Alright, so this is the box that it comes in, and it is very large, guys. And it actually survived quite well, being 32 kilograms, which is about 70 pounds. So you can imagine 70 pounds is quite a lot of weight. So there are 4 bands around the whole box. And I think the way this box works is we cut the bands and then we'll be able to get this top part off. Go ahead and cut these. Alright, so the outer shell here should just go right up. And there we go. All right, well, we have a lot of foam. I'm gonna cut this tape here. I should be able to just open this up. There's a top piece here. All right, well, that was quite easy. And here we can see the printer. So this is the front of it. You can see the screen here, the doors, and it's completely shrink wrapped on this protective plastic. So it looks like there's a piece of paper on top and it's a quick start guide. So it looks like we have a pretty straightforward explanation here of how to get started. All right, so I'm not sure exactly where to start, but I'm guessing we need to get the printer off of the bottom here. Try to lift it up. So yeah, guys, this thing is definitely massive. All right, so the next step would be to try to get this plastic off. It's actually a really thick plastic. So I'm making some progress here getting the plastic off. It's really, really thick. It's not what you think it is. You can see how strong this plastic is. So it protects it very well. All right, and this is what the machine looks like. It's a very, very nice build. So all of it looks like is metal, and it's got like a really industrial feel to it. And I love this color. It's like a off gray tone that's really attractive looking. All right, so it looks like the doors open up. Wow, that's amazing. Okay, it looks like they do swing out all the way out. Now that is a sight to behold, guys. All I gotta say is wow, this is a very large resin printer. The tub here is huge and everything is metal everywhere. So most of these parts looks like are aluminum. We have dual linear rails for the Z-axis and a very large Z-axis rod. Wow, this really looks very industrial and high-end. So we're going to take a more detailed look at the printer in a second. Let's go ahead and open the second box that came with this, and that's probably where our accessories are. And sure enough, that's exactly what it is. So it looks like we do get a little bit of resin here for test print. Okay, so that looks like our build platform. Very nice, it's large. So we do get more resin, so that's nice. There's 2 bottles of resin, and there's one more box. It does say Phrozen on it. All right, and so here we have all the smaller pieces to the printer. So it looks like we have some kind of magnetic cover here. A little funnel. pair of gloves that you'll definitely need, plastic spatula, and then a metal one also. And this metal one is quite unique looking, and it's definitely sharpened. Very nice. So you get 2 spatulas. So here we have, looks like the door handle hardware for the doors and a power cord. And for this last item here, looks like we have a USB wireless adapter. So I'm guessing you can plug this into the printer and then you can wirelessly connect to it so you can send maybe files to it wirelessly. I'm not sure, very interesting. And somehow I missed this cable, but we do get a Ethernet cable. So let's take a closer look at this resin here that was included. It looks like it's bagged and also bubble wrapped. And so this is made by Phrozen, their own brand, and it is ABS-like matte gray. And there is 500 grams of resin in this bottle. Let's see what's in the second one. All right, so we get 2 of them. Very nice. I definitely like that they included the same color for 2 because this is quite a large build volume we have here, so we have to fill it up with a reasonable amount of resin. All right, and here we have the build plate. Wow, check this thing out, guys. This is beautiful. This is like artwork here. But yeah, it looks like the build plate is completely metal. We have 2 little handles here to grab it. And there are 4 bolts connect the bracket to the build plate. And you can see that it's full of holes. And the bottom of it is actually sanded down, looks like. You can maybe see the sand marks. And so probably for all these holes is to minimize the weight and plus drain the resin that's up here a lot easier too, maybe. So we do have 2 adjustment screws on each side of the bracket. And this is how we're going to level the build plate to the bottom of the screen. All right, so let's go ahead and put this build plate on where it's supposed to go, which should slide right in here between these 2 knobs here, just like that. And then the knobs will secure it. And now it's nice and tight in there. So let's go ahead and put these door handles on. And so what we get is the 2 handles, and they are completely metal, and an Allen wrench for the bolts. So we're going to take the bolts out of the handle. Let's go ahead and do this door. So the handle simply goes right here, then our bolt goes on the back side, and then we're going to use the Allen wrench to tighten up the bolt. And now we have these really nice little handles. Now the door opens quite easy even without the handles, but the handles obviously make it really nice to pull on. So all right, so I'm going to go ahead and do this side, and we'll have our handles on. All right, so I did notice that it doesn't matter which door closes because this door here has a little lip, and then this door doesn't have the lip, so this goes over on top of the lid here. So if you try to open the left side of the door, this door here will probably try to open too, and it sure does kind of. And so if you close the right door first, obviously this one won't want to close. So, but naturally, you know, if you're a righty, you always go for the right door. So, all right, guys, so we got everything unboxed and looked at all the pieces that are included. Let's go ahead and take a closer look at this printer. There's definitely a lot of things to see, and I want to show you all the details of it so you can appreciate the build of this machine. All right, so we start here on the top. We have the 2 doors, and we have quite a large display here. So at the very bottom, we have rubber feet, and there's 6 of them total, and they're really large and tough. Now, there's 3 on each side. So on each side of the door we have 2 windows, and they are special plexi that is tinted in red to block UV rays. And this is the only windows you have to see into the machine. So the doors swing out all the way out, makes it really nice. They're out of the way. And there are magnets on the top that magnetize to the door here, and also on the bottom. And so they keep the door nice and shut, and it's pretty solid. And there are 3 hinges that hold the door. And so when we open the door, we can see we have this really interesting look. It presents itself like a very serious machine. So, all right, so let's start here on the top. So we got the 2 magnets on the door. Here we have 2 big, large bolts that bolt into our Z-axis frame rail that contains the 2 linear rails. And here you can kind of see the rails. They're quite large, just a little scale my fingers, but they're definitely much larger than you would typically see on regular 3D printers. So the lead screw goes all the way up, and it has a bracket there where it has a bearing supports into. And this whole frame piece here is 1 large aluminum channel that goes down. So the bed mounts to the bed bracket here. Cut it loose here. We can kind of see what that looks like. It's a very large slab of aluminum that mounts to our linear rail bearings there. And the aluminum underneath does have some cutouts to make it a little lighter weight. On this side, it looks like we have a little bracket here, and that appears to be for the sensor down here for the Z-axis. It's like an optical sensor. And then we have the bottom bracket there of the Z-rod with a coupler underneath that to a stepper motor, which is in the frame inside. So in the corner over there, looks like a little exhaust, and I'm guessing that probably pulls out the fumes, or maybe it ventilates air. And so now we get to the very obvious part, which is the tub here, and this thing is humongous, guys. You can see my hand. You can fit multiple hands in here. That's how large this printing area is. So the tub also has 2 handles here on each side, and looks like there's a couple screw nuts here that you have to unscrew to release it. So now it should just go straight up. It's a little hard to raise with one hand, but and so here we have the vat where all the resin is held. And underneath that, guys, we can see the very, very large LCD screen. So this is a 4K resolution, which should give us phenomenal print quality, especially being this size. We're definitely going to need every pixel of that. So I'm definitely excited to see what kind of prints it can make, small and large. So let's go ahead and shut the doors here. I guess we need to shut this one first. There we go. So let's go to this side. So here we can see the hinges on the doors. Actually, here towards the back, we have handles that we can grab the machine to move it around. Now, to grab it, you still have to kind of tuck it towards yourself, because the center of weight is definitely not where these handles are. You know, it's more closer to the middle, but still the handles are very useful, especially for something this large. Now, you could just put your hands underneath here, right in the middle. That seems to work just as well. So, and there's plenty of gap between the table and the bottom of the printer to get your hand under there. So it looks like here we have some cooling fans. So we got a larger one and a smaller one. Now there's probably very powerful ultraviolet lights in there, so it probably needs a lot of cooling for all those electronics in there. So let's go to our other side. So on this side we just have one fan, and then we have our hinges and the handle here. Pretty clean on this side. So I did flip the machine around so we could see the back a lot better. And you can see the upper portion is mostly clean, just a nice finished metal here. And we do have some ventilation. Another fan. Go to this side, so we have the power button here. It is fused. Takes the normal kind of power cord. So here we have the sticker of what this printer is called, and I don't know if I mentioned it yet, but it's called the Phrozen Transform. So this printer was designed and manufactured in Taiwan, and the maximum power consumption is 200 watts. And it looks like this printer can operate from 100 to 240 volts, and the weight of it is 28.5 kilograms, which is close to 70 pounds there. So as we go here to the right side, we can see we have that Ethernet port, and then we have 2 USB ports, and here looks like we have a SD card slot. And there's actually an SD card in there, but it's taped over, and I'm not sure if we're supposed to get that out or not, so I'm gonna leave it in there for now and we'll figure it out. All right, that's a little quick look at the machine. Definitely a very, very attractive and pleasant to look at. But what's more important is what kind of prints can this printer produce? Really what I'm excited to see. So I think for the next part, we should plug in our cable and power it on, check out the UI, and also get the platform leveled. All right, so I got the printer plugged in. Let's go ahead and hit that power button and see what happens. There we go, we can see a startup screen. So it looks like it's loading. All right, so it looks like it has a little load time there, and then it starts up and we have a menu here. And it appears to be a pretty straightforward kind of menu. I'm gonna go ahead and open these doors just in case we have something moving we can see. So let's go ahead and check out what all these options do. So let's click on plates. Okay, so as you saw there, the screen does dim down. Tapped it, it got brighter. Okay, so I'm guessing these are the files to print. And it's showing us here a USB is not connected. All right, so let's go back. There's a little home here. So after looking at the main screen here, I realized that profiles is something you set for the printer. This type of profile, which is the burn-in time and how many layers that is. So it'll make 10 layers of 80-second burn-in time on the first 10 layers. So that just means that the settings for your first 10 layers and everything after that is going to be an 8-second burn-in. This is basically your exposure of UV light into the resin. And so you can have a profile at it, and this profile is called test 50 UM. So for 50 UM, I think this is what they recommend here. So here we have a setup. Looks like the little SD card that is in there is actually expandable storage maybe. But the options are shutdown, reboot, status, and update. So let's click on status here, see what that says. Okay, so it kind of just gives us the status of the machine. The temperature, yes, maybe processing of some sort, and the SD card. Very interesting. And I guess if you need to update the machine, you can do that here. All right, very cool. So here we have Z-axis controls. This is what we're going to use to level the bed. Now let's skip that for now and go to this LCD test. And the fan's kicked in. So it looks like we have a few tests here. We have a graphical grid here, basically testing the LCD ultraviolet pass-through. We'll check that out in a second. Then we have complete open and then completely closed off. So if we click on this first option, you guys can see how we have the pattern drawn out there. So that's just testing the whole screen size. So then we have an option to completely open it up. And we can see all the LEDs inside, and that's quite bright. And I probably should not be looking at that. And then we got completely blacked off. And basically what that is, even though all the lights are on, they're being blocked by the screen to let anything pass through. And this is how you can tell, you know, if there's any issues with the LCD itself. If we go back to the pattern, you can see when it opens up, we have lines. And so this is kind of like a quick test you can do, you know, to check your LCD screen. And we also have Wi-Fi, looks like. And I guess this is how you would set it up here if you wanted to use the Wi-Fi option. But also using the thumb drive could be quite simple and convenient also. All right, so let's go ahead and go to our Z-axis. So as we go into Z-axis controls here, we can see that it looks like it's all manual. And we can choose the amount we want it to move here. So what we need to do is bring down the printing surface all the way down to the screen. And before we do that, we need to remove the tub. That way we can level our build platform to the screen. And so you are going to need a piece of paper. So this is a printing paper here. And we're going to use that as our gauge. So let's go ahead and bring the platform down. All right, so once you get it all the way down, then you can fine tune it with the 1mm. And if you go completely down where it doesn't go anymore, it's gonna activate that sensor where, you know, it doesn't go down more than it needs to. So it's down all the way right now. And to be honest, it feels like that's exactly where it needs to be, because I can still move the paper and it's got a nice drag to it. So that should be a good level here. So what we're gonna do is grab our provided Allen wrench. So you just want to make sure that all your bolts are loose and that the plate is happy where it's at. So we're going to apply just a little bit of pressure on the plate just to make sure it's level. And then we're going to tighten these bolts. I like to do it in the cross pattern. That way I make sure that every corner is equal. And that's it. So now our build surface is level to our LCD screen. So now we can go ahead and go up. Put our tub back on. And then fasten it down. So I just realized that there is the right way to level the platform. What you're gonna wanna do is click on this little round indicator here. So we got up and down, and then we have this round, which I didn't realize was a button, and it is. And if you click it, you can see a different screen comes up, guiding you step by step of how to calibrate the Z-axis. So if we click next, it's gonna automatically lower the build plate down, and then you're gonna calibrate it from there. So essentially it's kind of the same thing, it's just more automatic, I guess. Go ahead and tighten up the 4 screws. It's complete. So it's simple as that. You know, it's done. It's just more automatic. So just wanted to mention that there is that option. And so simple as that, our build platform is leveled and we're ready to print. All right guys, well I'm really excited to start a print on this printer, but before we can do a print, we do need to make that file. So let's go to the computer right quick and see if we can figure out how to create a file for this printer. Alright guys, so here we are at the computer, and what you're looking at is the Chitu box slicer for resin printers. And this actually is a really good slicer and quite simple to use. So the way you're going to set up your printer is you're going to go to settings over here, and you guys can see I already have the Phrozen Transform made here. So what you're going to do is going to add printer, and they actually don't have the transform in one of the choices here, or at least not on mine. They might already have it updated, but what you do is just click on default and then OK. Put in all the parameters like I have them here. So we're going to go ahead and look at that. So under the machine, we have the resolution. So it's 38 by 40 and then 21 by 60 is the resolution. And that is in millimeters here, which is 288 by 162 by 400 tall. Mirror is on normal. So resin, I think this is standard here. And then here's all the print parameters. Now I think all of this doesn't really matter, because what we're doing is we're actually just slicing the print, and then the machine is going to have its own settings as far as the resin and the print is concerned. So the most important part is here. Alright, so let's go ahead and bring a model in. So this is actually quite simple. Once you put in the parameters, you can see here the build plate is quite large. So for our first print, let's go ahead and do the ball. So we can see here we have the ball imported. If you want to learn more how to use the Chitu box, you can look that up and figure that out. You can dig a hole, you can hollow the model out, things like that. So this one's ready to print. It's already got supports and everything, so we're not going to go through all that, but you guys can see how large this build plate is compared to that model right there. So from here on, all you really need to do is just slice it. So we're going to go ahead and click the slice button here, and what it's going to do is it's going to slice it, and then it's going to show us a preview of the slice. And here we can see the preview here. So this is actually going from the top down right now, or you can manually scrub it, obviously. So with the Phrozen Transform, if you want to use the Chitu box like I am here, the only way, or at least the only way I could figure out to get the files to the printer, and that is to save them as, so you can click the save here, and you're going to save them as zip. Even the Frozen file PHZ didn't work for me, so the zip is the only way I could do it. And I think the only reason this didn't work is maybe because I wasn't doing something right, but I'm not sure. But in any case, so if you save it as a zip, what it's going to do is going to save all the pictures of all the layers, and then you're just going to import that into the printer. So we're going to click save, and what it's going to do is it's going to create a zip file. Alright, so now it is successfully written, and it does take a little while, but here we are. We can see right here it says ball.zip. So if we open it up, now you don't want to open it up, well I guess you could, but if you're going to manually transfer it, what you're going to do is you're going to transfer the zip file to, let's say, your thumb drive. So you're actually transferring the zip file, not the folder. The folder doesn't seem to work. In any case, if we open it up, we can see here all the pictures, PNG pictures of each of the layers, and there is 700 layers. It's basically ready to go. You just have to transfer it to the printer as a zip file. Alright, so now that we have the file on our thumb drive, and I'm just using a micro SD card with a USB adapter, so let's go ahead and plug it in the back of the printer, power it on. As it's loading up, I want to take a look at this little cap here. I think this is for maybe some kind of carbon filter, maybe neutralize the fume somewhat, but it does go right there in that corner, and there's a couple magnets on each side, kind of magnetizes right there. So alright, so let's go see if we can find our files. And basically the way you do that is you click on palettes. Now you can see that I already have a file here, and I imported this just from testing. But if you click on this little icon up here where it says the USB, you can see that it sees the files that are on the SD card. And here's that ball.zip. So if we click on that, it's going to ask us if we want to add it. We're going to say yes. And so what it's going to do is it's going to transfer it to the printer. And so now that it's transferred, now we can see we have two files to choose from to print. So if we click the ball, it's going to give us a little preview, and here's our first layer, and it looks like we can actually scroll through the layers, and as we scroll you can see with 238 it shows you a little preview of what it's going to be printing. Wow, that's pretty cool. And here we can see that's the profile that we're using, which was the one that came with the printer. So these controls up here looks like have to do something with the preview layers. So yeah, so once we're ready to print, what we're going to do is we're going to click this check mark here. It's going to ask us if we want to print, and we're going to say yes, and it's going to start. Now before we can print, we obviously need to put some resin in there. Alright, so let's go ahead and put this resin in. Now you do want to, kind of shake it up, not too violently because you don't want to put too much air bubbles in there, but get the contents nice and mixed in there. Now this is quite a large tub here, so it will take, probably half or more of this resin. And we definitely want to go about a quarter or so. So this is matte gray resin, so it should look really nice. Alright, here we go. That's a lot of resin. So with that much resin, you're gonna have, a lot of fumes coming up. So be very careful about the fumes and make sure you're in a very ventilated area. Alright, so now that our resin is in and everything looks good, we can go ahead and start the ball print. Alright, so we've activated it. So there is some audible fan noise you guys can probably hear. So I would definitely not say that, this printer is very quiet. But it does need all that fan to cool the electronics. So, alright, so we're getting really close to going into the resin. So this should be an interesting sight here. Wow, look at that. Alright, so it looks like it started its first layer. And we do have some ultraviolet light leaking through the sides here, mostly through the fan vents. But yeah, I'm very excited to see how our first print is going to come out. It's a very small print, but that'll give us a good idea of what we're looking at. Alright, so that was our first layer. Let's It's kind of going up pretty high and now back down. Alright, very cool. So as we're printing, we can see the preview of what layer we're on, which is the second one now. The file name, the profile, the remaining time that's left on this print. And I'm guessing that's estimated and probably will go down once it gets past these longer first layers. But here's our current cure time, which is 80,000 milliseconds. Status that we're printing. And we do have a couple options here to pause it and stop the print. But here we are going on our third layer, and it looks like things are going along pretty good. Alright, so we're gonna let the printer do its thing. I'm gonna close the doors. And you guys can kind of see that it's, quite hard to see through there. And the whole point is to protect the resin from UV lights. And our screen did dim down, which is really nice because when it is bright, it's, quite bright. It's good for low ambient light. And you guys can kind of see the ultraviolet lights here coming through, and a little bit right here also. The light in the back you see there is just artificial. That's not coming from the printer. So alright, so it's been printing for a while now, and we have layer number 159. So I want to go ahead and try to pause it and see if we can see the model, maybe. I'm not sure if I paused it. Okay, here we go. It says if we want to pause it, yes. Okay, so we're going to press OK to resume once it, I guess, pauses. So it is going up for now. Okay, so it doesn't go all the way up. That's a little bit unfortunate. I wish they did make it go up when you pause it, because it really helps you confirm that your print has started, but that can definitely be updated in a firmware. Alright, so let's just continue our prints, and hopefully we have a nice print there, and we'll be seeing it not too long from now. Alright, so the ball is done, and as you can see, guys, the platform goes all the way to the top, which actually takes a little while for it to get up there. But it does look like we have a successful print, and that's pretty exciting. So let's go ahead and cut it loose here. I really like how this system works. I'm just going to slide it out, and our whole platform comes off that easily. So we're going to drain some of this resin back into the tub, so you guys can see how large that plate is. So because we're going to continue printing, what I'm going to do is I'm going to just pry this off and wash it up. But if you're only printing one item, then you'd have to obviously do the cleanup, which is another thing to consider because all these parts are quite large. Alright, so I got this platform here that I'm going to use, and it's actually quite ideal for this build plate. It's just the right size. So yeah, make sure you're wearing your protective gloves and your place is well ventilated. So what I'm going to do is just going to try to cut this thing loose. Let's see how good it grabbed. Okay, it's coming off quite easy, and it seems like it grabbed pretty well also. There it goes. That wasn't hard at all. So now I'm going to go ahead and put this plate back on to the machine. So now what we need to do is grab some alcohol. So I have just this 70%. The higher the better, and this should be okay. And we can go ahead and wash this little ball off. You guys can see kind of, maybe. It's revealing the little holes. So yeah, so far it's looking really good. So it looks like if it can print this ball with accuracy, it can definitely print larger items that hopefully will look just as good as this. So that's quite encouraging. So I'm going to finish washing this thing up a little bit more, and also I'm going to print a few other things, and we'll take a closer look at the prints. Alright guys, so we printed quite a few things, and as you can see, everything turned out quite well. So here's our ball, and it looks very nice. And as far as the accuracy goes, you guys can hopefully see it's very, very good. Being a 4K resolution printer, it did very well for this kind of size. So after the ball, I wanted to print something else, and I printed this, I guess a lizard thing, whatever it's called. And it's quite a light print because it has all these holes in it, but it turned out really, really nice also. So this ABS-like resin is quite nice and strong, kind of flexible in a way a little bit where it doesn't let it break easily, but it seems to be really strong. So if you look at the smooth parts, you can see how well the layers are sitting. It's a little hard to tell, but wherever it's smooth, it's quite a nice finish. Even here on the hands you can see. Very good resolution, guys. So I was worried that printing more finer details might be an issue because of the size. It doesn't seem to be degrading the print quality much. So over here I have I guess some kind of spaceship or something. Now this thing didn't turn out perfect, and you guys can kind of see right there, there's some issues here, and this might have something to do with me having the lid open like this in a more lighted room, I think, causing the resin to cure at a faster rate than it was needing to, kind of messing up this print. But if we look at here closer, you guys can see that all the details are still there, and they're quite nice details. So not a bad print overall, but this didn't turn out perfect. Now another print I printed that kind of messed up also, or I messed it up, broke it, is this little gear thing, or this bearing. What I did was I shrunk it to 80%, so it was a lot smaller. And then when I tried to spin it, I kind of broke it. Here I have it taped, you guys can see, just to kind of demonstrate. But in any case, it did break loose and it is working. So maybe my rescaling it had to do something with it not being the right size for these teeth and whatnot else. But in any case, it still turned out and it's still working. So you can resin print things like this and have some kind of, you know, function, which is pretty neat. Also, you guys can see here, I printed a bunch of figurines. Not all of them turned out perfect. And the reason for that is I was starting to run out of resin because I used a lot of it on this Eiffel Tower. And so I used a different type of resin, and it looks like it needed to be more fine-tuned with the exposure time. Let's go ahead and look at some random ones here. So here we have, I guess, some guy holding fire or whatever. Tell the detail, it's very, very good. Like, I'm quite impressed with the detail. So even this cape thing, I'm not sure it's supposed to be like that. I think it got messed up, and I think it was supposed to go down kind of. But in any case, where it is printed right, it's actually very, very good high quality detail, which is quite impressive for the size of this bed that it's able to print this well, something this tiny. Let's grab another one here. So here I broke off the base, just trying to pry it off. Most of the models actually came off quite easy off of the bed. So now there is a downside to that, which I forgot to mention, is they does leave these little bubbles or these little bumps because of the holes in the build plate. But I guess it's not a big deal. You can just shave them off if you don't need them or don't want them. But let's go ahead and look at this guy here. So you guys can see the detail is quite nice. So here's a pretty cool one with a sword. And also everything seemed to be turning out pretty well. And the detail is really, really good. So there was a little bit of issues printing these figurines, but I'm pretty sure that had to do with the resin and the cure time was not correct. So here we have another print, and this one really messed up. His whole leg is missing and whatever else. But where there is detail, it looks very nice. All right, so for the last item here, we're gonna look at this Eiffel Tower here. And this is quite a large print. You can't really tell, but it goes quite high and it's thin up here. And I think this is about 380 millimeters. So this is almost the full 400 millimeters that this printer can do. And this is quite a large print. The detail on this thing, it's very nice. It's just a beautiful print. And this is, you know, the strong point of this printer is that it can print something large like this. I mean, 400 millimeters tall is quite large for a resin printer. Here you guys can see the bottom. And as you can see here, there are those little nubs that I was talking about from the bed or the build plate. It kind of imprints them at the bottom. So if you wouldn't want them, you'd have to maybe put it like a raft or whatever before the print itself. But yeah, a very, very nice, beautiful print, and it looks amazing. So this Eiffel Tower here took about 32 hours to print that. So you can see that it does take a while to print something that tall. Now, one of the things that are not considered about a large format resin printer is that if you were going to print, like, let's say these figurines or a bunch of stuff that was not very tall, it would not take very long to print a lot because you can spread it over the bed. So you can spread multiple prints all around and save a lot of time printing because they can all print at once. So all these figurines here took under 4 hours to print, or about 4 hours, which is quite amazing for the amount of items you can print. So this is another reason why it makes this kind of printer very useful for someone that's maybe needing to print a lot of smaller items or duplicates of something. Do it very quickly and save a lot of time. But yeah, guys, overall, I am very impressed with this printer and I'm pretty blown away at its capabilities. And I'm quite excited to use it for my other projects, and I've been wanting to print a few things that are quite large in resin and we're not able to. This could definitely do that job. There are a few things that I found that are a little bit of a nuisance, and one of them is the Z-axis travel, and it takes a while for some reason to move up and down. So it's not a big deal. You just have to wait for it a little bit here and there. But I wish it would speed up a little bit as it's, going up, and then slow down when it gets, closer to where it needs to be. But it's just one of those things you have to wait a little bit since it does have to go 400 millimeters up. So the other thing is the fans. They are quite loud, but there is a lot of UV light being produced by this machine, which needs a lot of cooling, and that makes sense. And also, if UV light leakage is a problem, it leaks quite a bit through the fans. And probably the most thing that I wish this printer had was the pause feature, where, you know, when you pause it, the bed itself or the build platform would raise up where you can see how your print started. Because when you pause it, it only raises a bit and you can't see through here. So you don't really know where you're at until it's way up. So if you have a print that's, you know, kind of failing, you won't know until it's too late. So, but overall, this is a really great printer, and it makes up any of the downfalls with its large build size. And because of that, you have to consider how much resin you need, and it is a lot, guys. Like when you start printing larger items, kind of like this Eiffel Tower, you're gonna burn through a lot of resin. So overall, I give this thing a huge thumbs up, and I feel like this would be great for development team where you prototype different kind of models and, you know, try different things out. Or someone that needs to print a lot of things at once, that could be very well, or just for the plain large size. So, and this printer definitely, you know, leans towards the industrial side of things. So yeah, guys, hopefully you enjoyed this video of the Phrozen Transform resin printer. And if you want to see more about this printer, stay tuned. I will be using it for projects, so you will be seeing it in videos. And also, I'll probably make an update for it later down the road. And if you are interested in a printer like this, I'm going to have some links in the description, so check that out. And also, if you enjoyed this video, hit that like button. And if you want to see more videos like this and other things I do on this channel, and you're not subscribed, then hit that subscribe button to see more. And also check out my other videos on this channel. I have a lot of 3D printing videos, and there's a lot more to come. All right, well, thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.